Okay, we're going to look at characterization in Kennedy in the Barrio, and we're just going to review what characterization is. Authors create vivid characters in their writing using several techniques, and they can include what the characters say and how they say it, what the characters do, like their actions and their choices, what other characters say about a character, or direct author description. Let's look at a character from Kennedy in the Barrio. So Larry Reyes, if you look in the chart, let's look at something he does. One thing he does is he owns a restaurant. And an inference we could make from that is that he's hardworking and smart, because in order to own a successful restaurant, you have to be hardworking and smart, because that's a tough business. Here's something he says. He says, "Here's to a Puerto Riqueño or Puerto Riqueña President of the United States." And an inference we can make just from those words is that he's hopeful that social change will occur, because another thing he said is that now that an Irish Catholic was elected, it could mean that a Hispano could be President of the United States too. But then if we read her direct description of how he said it, he laughed, not kindly, I thought. So maybe he isn't that nice. He's possibly, when he says those words about being president, he might just be making fun of the narrator, and she doesn't seem to like him. So an inference we could make is that he's actually not that nice. Another thing to consider when we're thinking about characters is their motivation. Why do characters do what they do? And most of the time, you can kind of divide up the things that characters do and the reasons that they do them into a few categories. So the first category that I want to talk about is physical. So a character might do something to protect his or her him or herself, or because they're motivated by a physical need. Like if you're hungry, that might cause you to do something, or like if your family is hungry or starving, you might do something you normally wouldn't do, like steal bread to feed them or something like that. If you're in danger, you might do something that you wouldn't normally do. So protecting your body or your physical being is often a motivation for characters. Another possible motivation for characters is social acceptance or social needs. So, people might dress a certain way or look a certain way, or, wear a certain kind of makeup in order to fit into a particular group. This sign right here says, "Take your litter home, other people do." So there's that peer pressure aspect. Sometimes people make choices to do good things like picking up litter because it's a social expectation. Sometimes people do bad things because of peer pressure, like smoking or something like that. But social acceptance or social motivation is often a reason a character might do something in a story. And another possible reason that a character might do something is emotional needs. So, if you are desperately in love with someone, you might ride on a horse to ask them to go to prom. Parents put up with a lot of crazy stuff because they love their kids. And like, why would you dress up like a bat? And try and fly around the city? Well, you want to protect people. That you have an emotional need to punish the people who killed your parents, like Batman. So he dresses up like a bat, and the reason he does it is to satisfy an emotional need to help people. So an emotional need, love or hate or sadness, might motivate a character to do something. So let's look at some possible motivations in Kennedy in the Barrio. So we'll look at a character, the narrator's father, and an action that he does in the first paragraph is that he scolds the narrator for being rude to his boss. And we can infer a possible motivation. It might be a social thing. He doesn't want his boss to think he's a bad parent. And that gives us some information that helps us understand the story better. The impact on the story, it gives us, the reader, information about the narrator and the narrator's father and the family dynamic. We know that he is an active parent who cares about her and cares about what she does and cares about how she interacts with other people. And we also know that he respects his boss and he wants his boss to think well of the family. So that gives us information about the family dynamic. Another character who does something, the narrator, she hugs her mother and father when she gets to the restaurant and everyone is so sad about President Kennedy's death. She is a ninth grader, but she goes up and holds both of her parents like a little kid, and that might satisfy an emotional need. She needs to feel the protection of her parents because the president's death has made her, and actually the whole country, feel vulnerable. It was really crazy to think that someone so powerful could be taken down like that. And the action give us insight into how much Kennedy's death impacted people and how personal the loss felt for people. They really were impacted by this death. Another possible motivation to talk about, the character, the narrator, she leaves the restaurant when all the people are mourning together, and the inferred motivation is emotional. She needs some time alone to process the strong feeling, the emotions she feels about Kennedy's death, and this goes toward helping us understand. Remember, we talked about a possible theme being that sorrow changes people and emotions, make them change the way they do things. So she, although initially she seeks the comfort of her parents, she later needs to be alone to process everything that's happened.